All right, let's talk bonds. But, not your everyday run-of-the-mill kind. We're diving into bonds that have, well, they have benefits, hidden features, almost like secret powers that can totally flip the script for both the borrower and the lender. So let's get into what makes them so darn special.
I mean, really think about that for a second. A loan is usually just a straightforward deal, right? But what if it had options built in? What if it could actually adapt or even transform depending on what the market is doing? That's exactly the world we're going to jump into today.
So on one side, you've got your standard loan. Fixed terms, no surprises, it's a very predictable one-way street. But on the other side, you have these flexible bonds. They come with special rights, strategic choices, it's all baked right into the DNA of the bond. These aren't just simple loans, they're sophisticated financial tools built for flexibility.
But okay, before we get into all the fancy stuff, we have to get our bearings. We need to understand the baseline. So let's start with the classic, the plain vanilla bond.
A straight bond, as it's called, is about as simple as it gets. It's a promise. You, the investor, lend some money out. In return, you get paid regular interest over a specific amount of time. And then, at the very end, boom, you get your original money back. Simple. Predictable. This is our foundation. Okay, now let's add the first twist. This is a feature that gives a huge advantage, a real edge, to the issuer. The one who borrowed the money in the first place. We are talking about callable bonds. And this formula right here, this is the whole key. See, the value of a callable bond isn't just the value of a regular bond. It's the value of that straight bond minus the value of this special feature. So, what exactly is this feature that gets subtracted? Well, it's called an issuer call option. And believe me, it's a powerful right. It gives the issuer the ability, now it's not a requirement, just the ability, to buy the bond back from you, the investor, at a price you both agreed on beforehand. And they can do it before the bond is supposed to mature. So why would they want to do that? Imagine interest rates have fallen since they issued the bond. They can call back your high-interest bond and just issue a new one at a cheaper rate. It's a very smart move for them, maybe not so great for you. So, because the issuer gets this powerful advantage, you, the investor, are taking on a new risk. The risk that your nice, steady income stream could just end early. To make up for that risk, the bond has to be sold at a discount. And that's exactly why the value of that call option is subtracted from the price. And this isn't just some abstract idea. That option has a real dollars and cents value. In one specific example from the material we looked at, the value of that right, the issuer's right to call back the bond, was calculated at precisely 40.7 cents for every $100 of face value. It's a real number with a real impact. Okay, so what happens if we flip the script? What if the investor gets to hold the special power? Well, that brings us to their safety net, the puttable bond. And would you look at that formula? It's the exact mirror image of the last one. Here, we take the value of a straight bond and we add the value of the investor's option. So this feature actually makes the bond more valuable. This little gem is called an investor put option. And it's the right, again, not an obligation, for you, the investor, to sell the bond back to the company before its maturity date. So picture the opposite scenario. Interest rates are soaring. Your old bond with its lower interest rate is suddenly looking a lot less attractive. Well, this put option is your escape hatch. You can sell it back and go reinvest your money at those new, higher rates. And because that safety net is so valuable for an investor, it doesn't come for free. You actually have to pay more for a puttable bond. The value of that put option is added right on top, and you see it as a premium in the price you pay. And just like the call option, this right has a specific, calculated value. In a similar example, the value of this investor's safety net was priced at 28.3 cents. It just goes to show these aren't just ideas, they're real assets with a real price tag. All right, so we've seen an option that helps the issuer and one that helps the investor. Now let's get into a true hybrid, something that literally blends the world of bonds with the world of stocks. Let's talk about the convertible bond. This is where things get really fascinating. A convertible bond? It starts its life looking just like a regular bond, paying you interest. But it's got a secret power. It holds an option for the investor to trade that bond in for a certain number of the company's stock shares. It's part debt and part potential ownership. So how on earth do you figure out what something like this is worth? Well, you have to look at it from two different angles. First, you have its straight value. What's it worth is just a boring old bond. Then you have its conversion value. What's it worth if you swapped it for stock right now? And here's the crucial part. A convertible bond's price should never, ever drop below whichever of those two numbers is higher. That minimum price is called its floor value.
Let's make this real with an example. On one particular day, the value of this bond, if you turned it into stock, its conversion value, was about $615. But its value as just a bond, its straight value, was almost $895. So, in this case, the bond side is worth way more, which means the absolute minimum floor value for this convertible bond is $894.86. It just won't trade for less than that. Now, here's the thing. Investors often pay a bit extra, a premium, for that conversion feature because they're hoping the stock price goes to the moon. This table shows you how we figure that out. You calculate the market conversion price, basically what you're paying per share if you buy the bond, and then you compare it to the actual stock price on the market. The difference here is $19.26. That's the extra amount per share that you're paying for all that upside potential.
And this is where it gets really, really interesting. These features, they're like building blocks. You can stack them up. A regular convertible is a straight bond plus a stock option. But then you can have a callable convertible, so that's the straight bond plus the stock option minus the issuer's right to call it back. You can even have a callable and puttable convertible bond with rights for everybody. Each piece you add or subtract fundamentally changes the bond's final valuation.
So, after all that, what's the big takeaway? It's actually pretty simple. These embedded options, whether it's a call, a put, or a conversion feature, they're not just some fine print you can ignore. They are powerful rights given to either the issuer or the investor. And these rights have a real, tangible, and quantifiable value that directly changes the price of the bond.
At the end of the day, all these features turn a simple IOU into a complex, strategic tool. They add all these layers of flexibility and risk and opportunity. So, the next time you're looking at a bond, or really any investment, maybe the most important question you can ask is, what's embedded inside?